is kind of how I imagine these zombies sound like. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. It's another hump day. We're halfway through the week. Some of us, me included, we're lucky enough to get Martin Luther King Day off for the first time ever. And I'm on call. So, yeah, I don't know how that works out. But anyway. Anyhow, I didn't get called out. So that's always a good thing. All right. So we are smack dab in the middle of the week. We're also smack dab into the zombie apocalypse. This is night 5 of the zombie saga for Apocalypse Hump Day. If you are new to Apocalypse Hump Day, how we doing, Jason? Nice to see you. Thanks for dropping in, man. If you're new here, what we do is on Wednesday, I read a short story in regards to the apocalypse. I've done a nuclear war, demons invading the earth, all kinds of stuff. And we have slowly progressed our way into the zombie apocalypse, of course, because you can't have an apocalypse without one. And let me just add that when COVID hit, that's what I was hoping for, a zombie apocalypse. And, then we had the riots and all that stuff. It was like just perfect ingredients for a great zombie apocalypse. Hola, Kevin. Thanks for stopping out all the way up from Florida. So good to see you. Anyhow, getting back, I was really disappointed. I was really thinking 2020 was going to be the big day, and I'd get to use my bug out bag and, maybe put a couple of hollow points in people. But no, didn't happen. So I got stuck writing about it. And we are on chapter 3 in the book Zechariah 14:12, Humanity's Last Stand. It's a book that I published in 2012. I was working for Jason, who's here tonight. I was working for him at the time of writing and publishing this book. And if you see the book, which I have a link to, this book on the page here, somewhere around here. The cover of the book, I did design the cover. The nurse on the front of the cover is supposed to be my ex-wife. Hey, Chuck. Thanks for buzzing in. Supposed to be it was my wife at the time, but it is supposed to be her. She was supposed to be the model for the cover. And yeah, anyway, one thing didn't happen, and then another thing, and then life got busy, and I ended up using somebody else. But so yeah, so we are on chapter 3. What's happened so far in the story is our hero, Len Emerson, woke up in the morning, and his neighbors were zombies. Most of them were, along with some strangers, and they chewed apart his dog, and he had to run and try to find his kids who were staying at his mother-in-law's farm. And during that time, his wife, Chris, is a nurse, and she's working at the hospital during this whole pandemic. Anyhow, they're in the city of Fair Lakes, Minnesota, which is very, very, very similar to Fairmont, Minnesota. And yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. And in chapter 2, we kind of picked up to see what Chris was going through on her side. And basically the power went out, and the zombies that the military had quarantined there at the hospital got loose, and shit hit the fan, and people were getting chewed on. Chris got bit, and so she's in an ambulance and took off with a National Guard soldier, and they are running towards the armory, as well as Len and his group are also heading to the armory because they got to the hospital after Chris evacuated. So, we're jumping into chapter 3. So let's get into there now. He needed a honey badger. If he would have just had a honey, if we all just didn't have a honey badger or a trunk monkey. I don't know if you've seen those videos. Those are pretty good. Everybody needs a trunk monkey or a honey badger. So, all right. Let's get into this book here. Chapter 3. Len pulled into the lot of the Quick and Easy convenience store. The lot was deserted, and there was only 3 infected roaming the lot, which he quickly dispatched with the front bumper of his Jeep. "Do you think the pumps are working if the power's out?" Grace asked. "There's a backup Gen E when that happens," he answered confidently. They have it set up so they don't lose their computer system in case of a power failure. "Be careful, Dad," Lee commented as he pulled up to the pump and got out. Let's see. Let's move this over here. All right. "Hey, Jason." He slipped his credit card into the pump's kiosk. It clicked on and he began pumping gas. When his tank was full, he brought out the gas tank he had in the back and filled that too and stored it on the bent-up luggage rack on the roof. Or roof. "I'm going to go inside and try to get some food and supplies," he said to Grace. She began to hand him the shotgun. "Keep it and hand me that hammer." "Daddy, don't go in there," Catherine began to cry. There's monsters in there." "I'll be okay, Kath," he said soothingly to her. "I'm just going to go get us something to eat." It was dark inside, and he opened the door with caution. Lying about the floor was various food and automotive items, as well as blood pools and body parts. The overhead music still played out a Britney Spears song to which he laughed to himself. He grabbed a paper bag from the grocery aisle and picked through the remaining potatoes and bananas. He threw in a couple bags of chips and loaded a plastic sack with water bottles. There wasn't much left. Suddenly, the grates in the cooler began to rattle, and he could see through the milk case that there was an infected employee growling and trying to get out to him. There was a dead look in its eyes, but anguish on its mouth. He was only partly startled, but calmed himself, seeing that it wasn't going to escape its prison. He didn't wander long, and went back outside and got into the Jeep that Grace had pulled up to the doors with. "Thanks," he said gratefully. "Hungry, guys?" They greedily took the bag of chips, and he handed them each a banana with a bottle of water. "Grace?" He offered a banana. "No, thanks. I don't think I could stomach much food right now." "When is the last time you guys ate?" "Last night, before bed. We had no-bake cookies. This morning, we were woken up by those things attacking Frank and Hugh." "Thank you," he said again. "For what?" "For keeping my kids safe." "I would give anything for them not to have to go through this." She began to weep. "The sounds the goats made when they were being torn apart. Oh, God, Shh. He patted her arm. "I would give anything too, Grace, but we're stuck with this situation. We now have to hope we find Chris." She let out a deep sigh. "Do you think we will?" He paused for a moment, realizing he had 2 pairs of little ears listening to their every word. "I think I do. She's tough, like you, and resourceful. Plus, she had military personnel there at the hospital to help her out." They came across a minivan that was surrounded by infected people. They were rocking the van trying to get in. Dad, there's people in there, Lee pointed out. He slowed down but didn't stop. Through the crowd of infected people, he could see a man and a woman in the front seat. He couldn't make out what was in the back seats because the windows were tinted. Dad, you aren't going to leave them there, are you? Lee inquired. We can't. He didn't know how to answer that question. Len, Grace looked at him. We have to try to help them out. He sighed and then stopped his Jeep. How many shells do you have? He asked. She dug in her pockets and pulled out a handful of shells. 5, and 2 in the gun. Well, we can't risk shooting at them now. We might hit whoever's in the van. We'll have to lure them away from it. He put the Jeep in park and looked into the back seat. I need you guys to stay in the Jeep no matter what happens. I need you to lock the doors behind me and your grandma, and don't